everybody? How's it going? Welcome back to the show. My name is Joey, and I'm your host today. Not joined by anybody. Just felt like putting something out on my own this week, just to make sure we're still putting out content. But today, what I'm going to be doing is going over a clip that I found from 2019 related to the Kansas City Chiefs, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I was thinking today, man, it's March 24th. April's already here. We're already almost a quarter of the way through the new year, and time flies, man. Like things happen really, really fast. But I think that's also why it's so important to kind of be present and just take in each and every moment because you don't know, things happen so fast that sometimes we take things for granted. So I think just being able to live in the moment and enjoy what you're doing, uh, it's going to kind of, I don't want to say it's going to make things go by faster. It might, but at least you're allowed to appreciate those little things or those experiences that you get to take in each and every day. For example, I think for me, I took a trip to the Cayman Islands about a month ago. And to think that that was already a month ago is kind of crazy to me. But just being able to get out into a more tropical area, just kind of relax on the beach for a week and disconnect from everybody and everything, was very relaxing for me. Um, Not too long ago, right after I got back, I was able to, fly in the back seat of one of the training fighter jets that we work with over here in Texas. And again, same thing. Like it seemed like it was yesterday, but it happened so fast, and it was almost 2, 3 weeks ago. But just being able to enjoy those small things, I think is going to help you, just appreciate and enjoy life a little more. But, you know, that's a little bit about my life update. Softball season's fully up and running. I'm working with the local softball team here, and it's just good to just be around the athletic environment, being around like a sports team. I just really appreciate showing up and their openness to me, and just being involved in that culture. And one thing I realized this past weekend when they had a tournament was that I don't know, those of you who are not familiar with softball, there's a lot of cheering and chanting going on, whether they're up to bat, whether they're, in the field playing defense, whatever it is, there's a lot of cheering going on, and a lot of it is kind of talking crap about the other team. But it's natural, it's normal. To me, it's like the designated fighter in hockey. Like it's just a part of the sport, and I think it's really interesting because um, I think it adds another layer of pressure to the situation. If you walk a pitcher or if you walk a batter on 4 straight pitches, well, what's the opposing team going to do is they're going to start calling you out for that stuff. So not only did you just walk so many 4 straight pitches and you got to make those adjustments there, but now you also got the distraction of like the other team talking crap behind you, so I think that's pretty interesting. Um, Another thing that's been going on, something I've been challenged with is nutrition. It's always been a challenge for me. I like to eat, like I'm a big sweets person. I love snacks. Uh, Not the best combination when you're trying to like cut weight and cut body fat. By all means, I don't feel like I'm overweight. By all means, do I not feel like my body is not where I want it to be. But I think it's just always a challenge when it's like, such a big part of athletic performance, working out, is you got to eat right. And I think I'll go 3 days and we're humming, we're doing the thing. But then I go 3 days of just letting loose and not a care in the world. So I think that's one of my biggest challenges right now is just maintaining consistency in that area. So I think one thing I'm doing is I have a marker on my refrigerator that lets me know like how many days in a row I was on point. How many days out of the month did I stick to my plan? Because now I'm using that as constant feedback, but also it helps me not beat myself up when I have like a bad day of eating. It's like, hey, at least like you had 4 or 5 good days in a row, like you can do it. Like this is just a one-time thing, that's fine. You know, um, but I think with that, since I am more on like a more of a workout program now, it's just I love working out. Working out's so much fun. And I'm not out there to be a bodybuilder. I'm not out there to try to impress anybody but myself. I think it's just such a good way to relieve stress for me. Whether it's I had a bad day and I want to go lift, whether it's, setting the tone for the day and starting my morning off with a nice workout. It does a lot for me mentally just as much as it does physically. So if I start my day with a lift, I feel accomplished already. If I'm upset towards the end of the day and then I go lift, well, guess what? All my frustration went out on that barbell. Yeah, I think I've been consistently in the gym, which is nice, and that's always fun because that's what's always gonna keep me going, for sure, and keep me at a level head. So with that being said, normally I ask my guest what they're grateful for. So what do you know? I'm going to ask myself, and I think one thing that I am grateful for is one of the guys I work with, one of the strength and conditioning coaches, James, and then also Brad too. So they both help me out a lot in terms of like answering questions with workouts, putting together a program for me, giving me advice. I think that's one of the I don't want to say I abuse it or the advantages I have, but that's one of the beneficial aspects of working on a human performance team where you have multiple modalities is picking their brain to help you become better. So I'm a guy who struggled with putting my own programs together, and it causes me to either lose interest quickly, not stay consistent in the gym. But now I have two guys that I can go to kind of help me keep myself accountable. So big shout out to Coach James, big shout out to Coach Brad. I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. I'm sure I'll tell you both tomorrow morning as well if you don't download listen to this. But yeah, I appreciate you both for what you do for our company for the pilots, but also for me personally. You Um, I should also mention that I am joined technically by two co-hosts today. One you can kind of see in the video is my dog Kobe, but he's got a friend over named Atlas. So if things get a little wild here in a second because there's noise, there's barking, they decide to play in the middle of this, that's what you got, you know? But going back to gratitude, so again, I challenge you all to think about something or someone that you are grateful for each time you listen to this podcast, but also just each and every day. I think it can help make the bad days not seem as bad. Maybe it can even intensify the good days, so not only can it do wonders for yourself, but imagine what it can do for someone else. If you tell them you're grateful for them, if you allow them that space to share what they're grateful for, not only can it enhance that connection you have between the two of you, but ultimately, what is it going to do for that person's day now? You know, so just something to always think about. But today, we're going to be breaking down a video, and it's from 2019. Okay, and this is it's from the NFL. It was a game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions. I'm pretty sure the Chiefs won this game, so sorry, brother-in-law, sorry, Victor. Had to put it up, but what the video shows is the Chiefs get the ball with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and they're down three. Now, during this game, the Chiefs are without not only their top left tackle, so the person who is in charge of uh, keeping Patrick Mahomes' blind side safe, right? So a very important position on the offensive line, but they're also without their top wide receiver and their top running back. So personnel wise, they're I don't want to say limited, but they're missing key pieces. So in the clip, in the game itself, Mahomes actually leads a game-winning drive in that last 2.5 minutes. Just doing what he does. Comes up in the big moments. And I hate the fact that I'm saying that because I'm a Raiders fan, but hey, game recognized game. You got to acknowledge it. So, yeah, he has a game-winning drive. But what the video shows is what he says to his team before they go out onto the field for that final drive. So he gives a speech, and what I want you to pay attention to is what he says, but I think also how do you think that might potentially impact the team?
We do not have to do anything else other than being ourselves. I truly believe that. If we just be ourselves and trust in each other, we will go down there and we can put points out, we can do what we do. Don't try to go out here and do everything for yourself. Believe in your teammate. You know what I mean? Believe in each other. And we'll get these opportunities. We'll go down. We'll find a way to win the game. Let's do it right here, man.
Who you are is good enough, baby. Who you are is
Osho on three. 1, 2, 3. Osho.
So there you have it. Okay, Patrick Mahomes talking to his boys, letting them know like, hey, let's get after it. So a couple things I took away from that clip, one of the things he really talks about is like being yourself. And I think oftentimes when we get into stressful situations, when we get into pressure moments, we have this misguided belief that I have to do more. I have to be the one to do everything. I need to make a play right now. Like I have to be the one to put us over the top. And I think that's where we get in trouble a lot. Is because we think that we now have to do more than what's within our capabilities with what's in our skill set. But that's not what got you to that point. Working with baseball and softball, one thing I've come to realize, and this is from a book called Heads Up Baseball, where when pitchers get in pressure moments, they do one of three things. They either go through what's called prayer pitching, right? So like, I hope I get this person out. Primal pitching, which is like I have to throw faster now. But then also perfect pitching. I have to be perfect. But none of those things got you to that point. What got you to that point is focusing on what you do well, focusing on what's within your capabilities. Here is my pitch. I'm going to go to that one pitch. Going back to the football video, like here's what I do well as a receiver is I run routes really well. I'm going to go out there and run my best route. Uh, I'm an excellent blocking tight end. I'm going to go out there and block the heck out of this guy coming off the edge, as opposed to being like, oh, well, I have to go and, catch every single ball on this drive and be the one making the plays. Like, you don't. You don't. I think you just have to go out there and just do what's within your skill set. And I think you hear this term a lot is from coaches is stay within yourself. Great message, but you have to understand who you are in order for that to happen. So I don't think the brain likes it, when we're in those moments and our backs are against the wall and we have to make plays. So I almost a default to, oh well, if four backs are against the wall and we need to win this game, then I have to do more. No, go out there and be yourself, do your job, and then you'll find that maybe even you're more successful those times when you just go out there and you just be you, you know? Um, Another thing he says in that speech is don't do everything just for yourself. Now, this is an interesting one, right? Because like I am a firm believer in sometimes we need to be selfish at times. I think it's good for our mental. It's good in terms of like, our self-care is like, hey, I need to be able to take care of myself, do what I need to do in order. Look at that. I don't even know how that caught that thumbs up. Uh, take care of myself in order for me to fully effectively be there for other people. But however, in a sport context, yeah, don't do everything just for yourself. You have to realize that in a part of a team game, there are others around you. So if I'm gonna go out there and make a play because I want to look good, as opposed to I want to make a play so that my team can be better set up for success. I think there's a big difference in outcomes when you experience those moments. Now, what would cause somebody to perform, outside of their capabilities, cause them to perform where it's like I need to do everything for myself as opposed to everybody else? I think can be related to a lack of trust. So I think based on past experiences, when I'm in this situation, other people have let me down. So now I am going to take the reins. I am going to do more. So I think when we get in those moments, our mind can be biased in a couple different ways. So maybe we're looking for all the different reasons why I shouldn't trust this person. Maybe we're looking for all the reasons as to why this person's going to mess up. Maybe there's a recency bias where it's like, hey, they just screwed up the last drive. Why would they not do it again? I got to make up for that mess now. And I think the logic makes sense, right? Like they messed up, therefore, if they do it again, I got to step up. So I think it makes sense, but in terms of like contingency planning, if you are doing it because like you feel like they're not good enough and you don't trust the person to make the job or get the job done, well, then it's going to be harder for you all to fully excel as a team, even as like an individual, right? It's like when you're out there and you got 11 people on the offensive side of the ball, and you're saying, I need to make up for the inefficiencies of these other four people. Well, that may cause you to overstep your boundaries. That may cause you to, doing everything might cause you to miss your own basic aspects of your own job because you're trying to do someone else's job, and then that never usually works out, right? Like, I'm too busy doing your jobs, and I don't do my job well enough, and then it's like, oh well, it's because I'm trying to do. It just goes down this rabbit hole. It begins to impact the overall team environment, but also like your own personal mindset and approach too. So yeah, not just be yourself, but also like doing things for other people. I'm gonna go out there and make plays because I want my brothers and sisters to succeed. Right. I think that can almost provide more a motivating factor for you as the individual, but also imagine what it does for the other person. If I know that this individual is busting their butt because they want me to succeed, well, I'm gonna want to reciprocate that. Right. So now it becomes, a force multiplier in a good way. So imagine what can happen if you have a whole team functioning that way, doing things for each other and not just for yourself. Uh, and then one of the last things he said was like, and it kind of builds off what I just said, but having this trust and belief in other people. And I think same thing. Why do we lack trust in not just other people, but also ourselves? Again, past experiences, past failures. Hey, I dropped the ball last drive. Why would I not do that the same this time? Last time we were in this situation, we failed to get a first down and we ended up losing the game. What if that happens again? And I think we begin to convince ourselves that, the results of the effort we're going to put in is going to be a failure anyways. So now I'm going to showcase behaviors that are going to bring out what that expected outcome is. I'm sure you've heard of like the self-fulfilling prophecy before, where it's like, yeah, if I believe I'm going to fail, then what my body and mind is going to do is prepare for that moment, right? So just because you believe that you can do it doesn't mean you're going to succeed necessarily, but it's going to put you in a better position to display the behaviors you want to display in that moment. And then I think if you end up failing in that moment regardless, it's not going to be because, oh, well, I didn't trust myself. Oh, it's because I'm not good enough. You're more likely to go down the line of, hey, I did what I could. Here's how I can get better. So yeah, I think there's a big, aspect of team performance in trusting each other, right? So making sure, hey, I believe that, this person can get the job done, but just as important is the belief in yourself. I believe that I can get the job done, and here's how. So I think making that switch, because imagine you being in that huddle on the sideline before you go out, and this guy's telling you like, "Hey, I'm gonna do it for you all, and I believe in you all. Let's go get the job done." Like if I had any doubt in my mind about my skill set, but then I hear the leader of my team saying like, "Hey, man, I trust you. Let's go do this together." That might cause me to flip right there. Okay, like hell yeah, no, I got this. Let's go do this thing, man. They just happen to go out and win, right? But like again, I think what it ultimately does is it puts you in a position to go out there and be the best version of yourself. Now, how do you go about being yourself, right? I mentioned this before, coach slang. I said it before. You read it and hear about it all the time. Is coaches say, "Hey, you need to stay within yourself," right? If people tell you, "Hey, just go out there and be yourself," same thing. In order for you to stay within yourself, in order for you to be yourself, uh, you have to know who you are, right? So I think that brings in the importance of self awareness. Like, what am I good at? What am I not so great at? So you can think of it in terms of like technical, tactical skills related to your sport, right? Whether it's like, hey, I notice on my jump shot, like my form, I'm really balanced when I shoot. Okay, that's good to know. What am I not so good at is sometimes I don't hold my follow through all the way. Okay, again, good information to kind of help you learn and build your own skill set. But I think it's also about some of those uh, non-technical tactical skills, right? Whether it's something physical, like related to your body, whether it's a more of a mental skill or something related to your mindset, or maybe it's like an interpersonal skill. It's like, hey, I'm really good at, communicating with other people. I think the more you know about yourself, the easier it's going to be for you to be yourself in those tough moments. I think also building self-awareness on like your own motivation. Like, why is it that I do what I do? Why do I get up every single morning and go work out at 6 a.m. before practice, before work, whatever it is? Um, I think understanding the different ways individuals are motivated. Am I motivated more by like rewards or punishment? By not wanting to experience certain emotions? Like, what are those core values that I possess that help me make the decisions that I make each and every day? So I think the more when you are in those moments and someone says like, "Hey, just be yourself." Okay, well, who am I? I am someone that stays calm. I am someone that appreciates going to war and going to work with other people who are trying to commit or who are trying to achieve a common goal, right? So I think that's the first step. In order for me to perform my best, not just when it matters, but at any moment, I have to know who I am first. But then in terms of trust, I think there's a lot of different ways you can build trust. So we'll start with like yourself, because I don't want to say it's easier, but I think like if I'm going to perform, I need to first trust myself in order for me to trust others, most likely. Um, that might be a hot take, but I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments. So in order for me to build trust within myself, I think one thing you can do is through visualization, right? Going through, what my performance looks like. And it can be the whole performance in and of itself. It could be, short bursts of skills that, you want to make sure you do well. But it can also be maybe you making a mistake, but bouncing back from that mistake. Picturing yourself in a pressure moment, making the plays that you want to make. Because I think what that does is it not only creates those neural connections in your brain of like what to expect in those moments, but when you actually get in those moments, and let's say you make a mistake, but you pictured yourself coming back from mistakes, well, you are more likely to trust yourself to bounce back in an effective way. Again, maybe it doesn't mean that you change the outcome, but again, you're putting yourself in the position to allow yourself the opportunity to succeed. Right. So I think one is being able to effectively visualize, so what makes visualization effective? I think one, making it real time, right? So don't speed up, don't slow down the image, doing it as close to real time as you can. Uh, Adding as many senses to that experience as you can. So if I'm visualizing myself shooting a free throw, like, what am I seeing? What am I hearing? What am I smelling? What am I feeling? What am I tasting? Uh, what am I experiencing from an emotional standpoint? I think the research kind of backs that too. Is if you can add that emotional component to what you visualize, it's going to make it even more real and more intense as you go through that visualization process. And then I think another thing you can do to trust yourself is obviously through affirmations. What can I say to myself that's going to help me be confident in this moment, help me trust myself in this moment. And I think it's important to understand everybody's different. We know our thoughts drive our emotions and our physiological reactions, but not everybody's thoughts work the same. For you listening, maybe telling yourself, you got this, or trust yourself is what's going to provide the emotional, physical, physiological response you need to trust yourself in that moment. However, some people it doesn't. Some people you need to talk a little smack to yourself. You know, maybe inherently negative in nature if someone were to just read it. But if it's driving the emotions, the physiology, the physical response that you need for you to be successful, for you to trust yourself and be confident in yourself, then that's what you got to do. But I think that also comes with, again, building self-awareness on like what is it that you possess, what is it that you need to be the best version of yourself. Now, in terms of building trust, there's three ways that I've found, doing some research, and this ties back into my work with the Army, and I think um, the Army kind of outlines it this way as well. But how do you build trust takes three components. So one of them is competence. I need to know that you are, man, the amount, those of you who watch this on YouTube, the amount of accidental thumbs up I gave that Zoom uh, catches it, it's going to be wild for you. Unfortunately, if you're just listening to the audio, you're not going to get that experience. But that's what I'm here. I'm telling you about it, so we can kind of live in it together. But back to how the Army defines trust. So it's like it's built off three components. So one is competence. So I believe that you are good at your job. Right? Makes sense. In order for me to trust you, I need to know that you know what you're doing. There's also commitment. So in order for me to trust you, I need to know that you are committed to the team goals. But then there's also character. So in order for me to trust you, I need to know that you are a good person. Now, an interesting conversation, how many of these components do you fully need to trust somebody? Okay. Obviously, the more you have, the better, right? If I know that you know how to do your job, if I believe you're a good person, if I know you're committed to the team goals, by all means, I'm going to trust the heck out of you. But if I know you're committed to the team goals and I know you're a good person, but you're not good at your job, can I trust you? In my opinion, I would say yes. Because if you're a good person, if you're committed to team goals, then I trust that, yeah, maybe you don't have the skills now, but maybe you're willing to build those skill sets. You're not good now, but you have the character within you to make the necessary changes, you know? So one way to build trust is by building each of these areas with another person. If you don't know that person or you think they're a bad person, go get to know them. If they're not committed to the team goals, find out what they're committed to. Right? See if you guys can get on the same page in terms of like where the commitment lies. And then in terms of competence, maybe they aren't good at their job, but what can I do? What do they need in order for them to feel more competent at their job? So I think a big step in being able to trust other people is, not just waiting for them to make a move, but how can I help this individual get to a point where I can trust them, which is especially important in a team setting, because you don't do it alone. You go about it together. I think another way to build trust with other people is through positive interactions. Now, what do we mean by positive interaction? Is some interaction between two people that benefits both parties. So maybe again, in terms of if I don't know about someone's character, a positive interaction is me just going up and getting to know them. Hey, how are you? Like, hey, like, what is something you value? Hey, like, where are you from? Having those conversations with people just to get to know them. Maybe you find out that you have different values and beliefs. That's okay. At least you took the time to get to know them. I would say that is a positive interaction. Um, in terms of like again, competence, maybe me myself am lacking competence in a skill set. Maybe the individual I'm talking to is lacking competence in their skill set. But still having that conversation, be like, hey, like what do you need? Hey, I could use help here. I see that you're really good at it. How can you help me? I think that's a positive interaction in of itself because it shows if I'm coming to you and saying like, "Hey, like I need help with this," I think that can enhance the connection because like, "Hey, like I'm humble enough to know that like I'm not good at this and I know you are." Right? So like how can I how can you help me? Right? Like, how can I become better through your expertise, through your knowledge, through your experience. But then look at the other side, right? Like if I know I'm good at something and this person's struggling with something, and I go up to them and say, "Hey, man, like I noticed you're struggling with this. Like, is there anything I can do? Like, I have this strategy I use that might be helpful if you wanted to hear it." I think that shows that you care about that individual. So if I show that I care for the well-being of others, if I show that I care for this person or wanted this person to get better, right? Maybe what that does for now the other person. It's like, okay, like, hey, like this person is really, trying to help me out. Maybe that builds the trust now both ways. So yeah, I think when it comes to pressure situations, like Pat Mahomes said, it's all about just being yourself and then also not just doing things for selfish reasons. Be yourself, uh, help those around you. Like, let's go succeed as a team, but then also have that trust and that belief in not just yourself, but in other people that we can all get the job done together. Right? So, how do you build each of those areas? So, one, in terms of being yourself, is taking the time to reflect and build self-awareness. What skills do you possess? Related to your sport, not related to your sport. What level of motivation? Where do you pull your motivation from? Like, what are your values? How do you get going each and every day? What keeps you get going each and every day? I think can provide value not just in pressure situations, but I think just in overall daily life in general. But then also in terms of building trust. So with yourself, being able to visualize scenarios with the outcome that you want to have, whether it's a success, whether it's a failure, but bouncing back from that failure. Also finding out what it is that you can say to yourself that's going to produce the necessary emotions and physiological reactions to be confident in yourself, to trust yourself. But then also in terms of building trust with other people, is how can I increase the positive interactions I have with my teammates, with my coworkers, whether it's understanding what their competence level is or what my competence level is, and how can we use each other to where we can lift each other up. Understanding other people where their commitment lies, and now how to put that individual in the better position to succeed. Because maybe we do, have different like end states, but I think it all in the team setting, it all builds towards something bigger, right? So how can we get them on the same page as everybody else while not still diminishing what they want to achieve? But then also character, right? So getting to know the people you work with, getting to know the people you practice and play with on a day in and day out basis can enhance that trust within each other. And teams that perform well, they may not necessarily like each other, but they trust each other when it comes to the big moments. So uh, that's today's episode. Yeah, a little solo action today. The dogs weren't too crazy today, thankfully. I thought that was going to be a lot worse than anticipated, but no, they did good. But I got to get back to watching some March Madness. I'm a big hoop head, so um, that's all the time I have for you all today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for downloading and listening again. Once again, you can find me on Instagram and on YouTube at Velez Mental Performance. And then podcasts are available to download at the normal ones, Amazon, Apple, Google, which I heard is changing soon, iHeartRadio, but you can download and listen there. Don't forget to like, rate, review, all that good stuff. Don't forget to tell your friends, to start downloading the episode and taking a listen. But like always, I appreciate y'all for taking the time to listen. Thank you again, and remember, today is always a great day to make an impact on someone else's life. Have a good day, and then we'll talk soon.